Hey everyone, welcome to the channel where we love to talk about movies. Welcome especially if you're new. If you enjoy talking about movies and staying up to speed on what's in theaters and what's worth checking out, be sure to hit that subscribe button so you never miss a video. Alright, with that, let's dive into today's review, which is for Beast. I just got back from seeing it in the theater, so let's dive on in. Now, in this movie, a father and his two teenage daughters find themselves hunted by a massive rogue lion intent on proving that the savannah has but one apex predator. So, this is going to be a spoiler free review. I thought about going into spoilers because there's some things I kind of wanted to talk to, but I'll keep it spoiler free. Diving right on in. The main thing that I loved about this film was the cinematography. Now, it's not necessarily like a horror, but it's very much a movie where they're stuck in the desert and predators, so it has you kind of on the edge of your seat, and the cinematography helped so much with that. So there are a ton of long takes, like I would say it felt like half of the movie at least was long take shots. And so it was really good camera work to, move around a scene and, have it go on for quite a while and just move around the characters. It makes you get up close to them and it kind of limits your framing or the framing and your vision. So that helped a lot with, just getting you kind of tense and feeling the danger that they were in. So anytime a movie has long takes, I absolutely love it. I think it just is a higher form of movie making because it requires you to kind of like plan the scenes out and it forces you to have to use a single take. I know, I mean, there are ways to still kind of splice things together. Obviously, for a movie like 1917 that was meant to look like a single take all the way through, it wasn't actually a single take. So they might do some of that in here, but it's just I have a much higher appreciation when movies can do that. Especially, I think it's really good for action movies and really good for kind of suspense or horror movies. So this one did a really good job. I also thought the locations and just like the general look of the movie were really nice. Like you actually felt like you were in the savannah and in Africa. I'd imagine I haven't been there, but it looked really nice. So those were the things that I think I liked most. The music was fine. I think it was noticeable in a couple spots as being good, but it wasn't like overly noticeable. And then I thought that the characters were interesting. So I had kind of some pros and cons for different ones. Like overall, they I feel like they behave more irrationally than rationally. But given that they're in like a life threatening situation, you can kind of excuse it. But it does fall a bit, I think, into the trope of like people acting stupid in horror movies. Now, again, this isn't a horror movie, but like for aspects of it, that piece I felt like it did bring in. And yeah, there are definitely some good moments though, and it's not like they're complete idiots, but there's things here and there, and you're like, why? Like, if you stop to think about it, why are you doing that? Because it's really just putting yourself in more danger. But again, I can't really say for like I haven't been in that situation, and yeah, it's all in all likelihood your brain does turn off for something, so I wouldn't be surprised at that. But I thought that the main character played by Idris Elba, I thought he was interesting. It did take me a little bit to get the Charles Minor out of my head because I think the only thing that I've seen Idris Elba do with an American accent, and he played. So that's a for those of you who don't know, Charles Miner's a character on The Office. He's in a few episodes, but he's like one of my most disliked characters on The Office. Not like because he was a bad character, but like I just didn't like the it wasn't. I'm not saying the portrayal was bad. It's like the character just got on my nerves and under my skin. So like him playing this with an American accent drew back to that character for me. But I got over that, I would say, after probably the first quarter of the movie. And then he felt like his own character, and I bought that he was, a father of these two daughters separated from their mother who had passed away. And these things are all relatively early on, so I don't consider them spoilers. They're set up for the film. But yeah, so like I bought that, Idris Elba was this character, so I thought he acted it very well. And then I thought his daughters were done well enough. They didn't blow me away, and they didn't come up subpar like you can sometimes get with young actors or actresses. So I thought the younger of the two sisters was maybe the little weaker of the character, and that was Nora. But I thought that the elder of the two, Mare, was pretty good. But there again, there are several things that her character does that just had me asking like why, and that's if a character does that for me, it makes me much less likely to kind of get invested in their character. People acting unreasonably or yeah, that sort of thing. So I think that came across the most through her character of the main four. And then the fourth one, which yeah we haven't talked on yet, is Martin, who's their friend down in the Sahara or Savannah, excuse me, and he's taking them around. I thought he was done pretty well again, and it was interesting to see what they did with his character. And I won't go into any more details because we'll get into spoilers, but the movie definitely has some good moments, and I think it's paced pretty well. It's just an hour and a half. I think that was the right amount for this film. It kind of moves along and takes you through the different acts, and they do. It doesn't feel like you're just kind of stuck in one spot like you sometimes get with either suspense or horror movies. Again, this isn't a horror movie, but like that's it has some similarities as far as things like that for what you might find with pacing. But yeah, so overall I think there was more good there than not. I had some nitpicks. I'd say the main, well, one big bonus, I saw this in the Dolby Cinema at AMC, and that was actually really nice to see it there. The sound and the picture quality were great. They finally got that projector to be actually focused on the screen. I think that's like the last 6 or 7 movies I've seen in that cinema, the projector has been out of focus, and it's extremely noticeable when there's text up on the screen. I even like pointed it out to a worker after I think it was Elvis, and I was like, I'm pretty sure it's not just me, right? Like those credits are pretty blurry, and he's like, oh, I don't really know. He's like, I don't know, didn't want to validate my complaint or something like that. But yeah, I mean, I'm not usually one to complain, but when it's like the picture quality for something that's supposed to be their premiere screen is or premium screen, I think is a little crazy. But yeah, I think I brought it up to them like probably 4 or 5 times out of the times that I noticed that it's blurry. And I had just gotten to the point where I'm like, I guess that's just the best they can do it with this screen. Maybe it's because it's like a curved screen, and I didn't think that should make a difference. But this one though, it was actually focused. I'm like, okay, so it wasn't just me, and it wasn't the screen. It was the fact that their projector was not set up right, and so those were legitimate complaints. So I felt a bit validated for the times that I had brought it up. But that part of it was great. The downside though today, it was somebody, so it wasn't a very full theater, but somebody got the seat right next to me. Like the whole rest of the row to the aisle was free of seats, but they felt the need, I guess, to sit right next to me. In this day and age, you'd think people leave at least a space between if there's room. Like now, when I went to see Spider-Man No Way Home, obviously that was full up and you got people in every single seat. But yeah, so they sat right next to me, and then that on top of they had like the worst BO that I've experienced in a theater since probably I think 2 years ago now. I think it was like Just Mercy. That was like the only other time that I've had somebody like yeah, that was very distracting the entire film because my nose didn't adjust and it was just there the entire film. And like I thought about getting up and going to like a different seat, but like there's assigned seating for a reason. So I even like for that, I'm not the type of person to go into another seat because what if somebody comes in 10 minutes late to the movie because they're running late? I don't want to take somebody's seat. So that definitely kind of detracted a bit from this experience, but I try not to hold that against the movie, and yeah, that was probably the biggest downside to the experience overall. But overall, yeah, the I thought the movie was a good movie, solid entertainment. Again, yeah, cinematography was probably the best thing. I absolutely loved it in the film. I give this a solid B, probably on the upper side of a B. It didn't do anything to, impress me. Other like the cinematography did a bit. That was kind of its highest mark, but overall, nothing kind of stood out as, putting it into the A tier for me. I did enjoy this, and I'd recommend it. And yeah, I think it's one that was nice to see on the big screen, but it maybe doesn't demand a theater watch. But I would say it's kind of in the middle. It's not like wholeheartedly just like catch it on streaming, but it's not like the most action heavy either, which I think kind of action movies demand a bit bigger of the screen. Although I think the kind of the landscapes that you see are nice on a larger screen as opposed to something at home. But yeah, those are my thoughts. A little long for this movie, but the yeah, for an hour and a half movie, I think I rambled on a little bit about the Dolby Cinema and the that especially for this experience. So thanks for sticking through this review. If you're still here, if you did enjoy the review, be sure to smash that like button and subscribe so you never miss any of my videos. And with that, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you in the next review.